Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Farhana Alaysa AMH Khalil from Group 3. So the topic that I am going to discuss to you is the Sanitation Code of the Philippines Presidential Decree number 856. So first, let us define what is sanitation. Sanitation is the collection, transport, disposal, and or use of human excreta, domestic wastewater, solid waste, and associated promotion of hygiene. Basic sanitation is the process of safe disposal of human excreta to prevent disease and safeguard human privacy and dignity. So, ang sanitation daw is ito yung pag-collect natin ng human disposal or human wastes na dapat natin inaayos or ina-organize to be able to have a good outcome or maiwasan natin yung mga factors na maaari makapek sa ating kalusugan, lalong-lalo na sa mga tao. Presidential Decree number 856, whereas the health of the people being of paramount importance, all efforts of public services should be directed towards the protection and promotion of health. And whereas with the advance in the field of sanitation in recent years, there arises the need of updating and codifying our scattered sanitary laws to ensure that they are in keeping with modern standards of sanitation and provide a handy reference and guide for their enforcement. So, Presidential Decree number 856, kinakailangan natin ng ganitong policy or regulations para masigurado natin yung kaligtasan ng bawat isa and to help people. Whereas din dito, yung advance ng Code of Sanitation, kasi dati sa past years, meron ding mga regulations pero hindi ganoon ka-advanced like ngayon kasi nag-improve na yung life ng tao, including the advancement of technology na maaari ring mag-improve ang iba't ibang factors na kinakailangan ng sanitations. This was approved by the late President Ferdinand Marcos. Chapter 1, General Provision. Section 1, Title. The title of this code is Code on Sanitation of the Philippines. Section 2, Definition of Terms. Whenever any of the following words or terms is used herein or in any rule or regulations issued under this code, it shall have the meaning given it in this section as follows. Code on Sanitation of the Philippines. Department, the Department of Health. Secretary, the Secretary of Health. Regional Director, an official who heads a regional health office. Local health authority, an official or employee responsible for the application of a prescribed health measure in a local political subdivision. Health officer, provincial, city or municipal health officer. Engineer, a sanitary engineer. Section, any section of this code unless the term refers to other statutes which are specifically mentioned. Section 3, Functions of the Department of Health. The department shall have the following powers and functions: extend maximum health services to the people in rural areas and provide medical care to those who cannot afford it by reason of poverty. Develop, administer, and coordinate various health activities and services which shall include public health, preventive, curative, and rehabilitative programs, medical cares, health, and medical education services. Issue permits to establish and operate government and private hospitals, clinics, dispensaries, schools of nursing, midwifery, and other paramedical courses, puriculture centers, clinical laboratories, and blood banks. So, sa Section 3, they are responsible to help other people, especially poverty. Since we are talking about the Department of Health, so they need to maximize the health services of people when it comes to health. Siyempre, hindi naman lahat ng tao is nakaka-afford. So basically, they become the providers sa mga nangangailangan ng tulong. Develop and coordination of health activities and services. Pinakailangan ng mag-raise ng standards ang DOH when it comes to these various activities na need nilang i-prescribe yung mga services para sa mga taong nangangailangan dito. For instance, the rehabilitation center, medical education services, and etc. Chapter 2, Water Supply. Section 9, Prescribed Standards and Procedures. Standards for drinking water and their bacteriological and chemical examinations, together with the evaluation of results, shall conform to the criteria set by the National Drinking Water Standards. The treatment of water to render it safe for drinking, and the disinfection of contaminated water sources, together with their distribution system, shall be in accordance with the procedure prescribed by the department. So, yung mga tinetest or kinakandak na examinations at yung mga evaluations ng report, including the treatment of drinking water, is ina-approve siya based doon sa national drinking standard natin. So, bakit? Para masigurado natin na dumaan sa maayos na proseso yung pag-test or pag-conduct ng examination upang malaman natin kung safe ba or potable yung mga inom-inom nating tubig. Section 10, Jurisdiction of the Department. The approval of the Secretary or that of his duly authorized representative is required in the following cases. So, ito yung mga cases na kinakailangan ng approval ng Secretary. A. Size of water sources before their construction, delivery of water to consumers from new or recently repaired water system, operations of a water system after an order of closure was issued by the department, plans and specification of water system of subdivision and projects prior to the construction of housing units thereat, and certification of potability of drinking water. Section 11. Types of water examination required. The following examinations are required for drinking water. Initial examination, the physical, chemical, and bacteriological examination of water from newly constructed system or sources are required before they are operated and open for public use. Examination of water for possible radioactive contamination should be also done initially. From the word initial, kinakailangan natin ng physical, chemical, and bacteriological examination. For example, gusto natin mag-operate ng isang establishment or any resources. So, kinakailangan muna natin dumaan sa isang masusing examinations, physical man or chemical, bago natin ito i-open for public use. Periodic examination water from existing sources is subject to bacteriological examination as often as possible, but the interval should not be longer than 6 months, while general systematic chemical examination should be conducted every 12 months or oftener. Examination of water sources should be conducted yearly for possible radioactive contamination. Section 12. Examining laboratories and submission of water samples. The examination of drinking water shall be performed only in private or government laboratories duly accredited by the department. It is the responsibility of operators of water system to submit to accredited laboratories water samples for examination in a manner and at such intervals prescribed by the department. So, yung mga examinations ng drinking water ay dapat performed only in the private or sa government laboratories accredited by the department, or responsibilities ng mga operators ng water system na mag-release or mag-provide ng accredited laboratories water sample para sa examination and of course prescribed or may mga interval prescribed by the department. Importante itong examining laboratories para maging organisado or maayos ang pag-examine ng water sample. So, sa Section 13 is importante din ito dahil marami tayong kino-considers or maraming factors na maaaring makaka-affect doon sa ating resource of water. To protect drinking water from contamination, dapat is may sinusunod tayong measures at in-observe natin ito. So, some of these is yung paglaba or batting na dapat within a radius of 25 meters from any well is prohibited or pinagbabawal. So, masyadong malapit yung 25 meters, so maaari magkaroon ng contamination, kaya dapat mas malayo pa doon sa radius na 25 meters para maliit lang yung mga chances na makontaminate yung ating resource of water. Chapter 3, Food Establishment. Section 14, Sanitary Permit. So, of course, kinakailangan ito dahil hindi tayo papayagan na mag-operate kung wala tayong sanitary permit. Isa yun sa pinakailangan natin kapag nagpapatayo ng mga establishment. Including this are the fees, noting permit, record of permit certificates. The record should in every case show the following: name and address of the holder, location, purpose, date it was issued, changes of occupation and management, condition under which the permit was issued. So, Section 15, Health Certificates. So, kinakailangan talaga itong health certificates ng bawat employee sa isang establishment para makasigurado na hindi nagkakaroon ng hawaan doon sa pinagtatrabahuan o sa establishment. Kaya pinagkakandak sila ng medical examination at required dapat yung physical and para masigurado na healthy yung mga trabahador. Quality and protection of foods. So, of course, kinakailangan ng malinis or ligtas na yung mga pinidistributes or mga siserve na pagkain. Chapter 4, Markets and Abattoirs. Section 34, Prescribed Standards of Construction. The construction of markets and abattoirs shall conform to standard prescribed by the department. These standards shall be set along the following guidelines. So, sa market and abattoirs is kinakailangan sundin natin kung ano yung mga standard requirements and at the same time, yung guidelines nito, pero prescribed by the department. So, these standards shall be set along the following guidelines. Number 1, suitability of site insofar as elimination of nuisance, condition, and prevention of contaminations are concerned. So, elimination of nuisance, ang example nito is yung mga junk accumulations in sanitary conditions and at the same time, para ma-prevent natin yung contaminations. Number 2, availability of ample water supply for cleaning. So, availability of water supply for cleaning. Ample water means sufficient quantity water supply or kinakailangan na malinis yun para maiwasan natin ang contamination. accessibility of adequate drainage facilities. Number 4, durability of construction to protect vendors and customers from any hazard and exposure to the elements, and facilities for sanitation maintenance, such cleaning and elimination of harborage or of vermin. Chapter 5, Public Laundry. Section 36, Responsibility of Local Governments and Private Operators. Local governments and private operators in charge of public or private markets and abattoirs shall employ an adequate number of personnel to ensure the efficient operations and hygienic maintenance. These employees shall be under the direct supervision of the local health authority. Section 37, Sanitary Permit Number. Public laundry shall operate without a sanitary permit from the Secretary or his duly authorized representative. As used in this chapter, a public laundry is a laundry established and operated for commercial purposes, open to the public and not to an exclusive client.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Kishana Yutaro. So, this is the continuation of the report of Farhana Alaisa Galil. My report is chapter 6 to chapter 10. School Sanitation and Health Services, Section 40, Definition of Terms. So we have 4 definition of terms: the school, special school, physical environment, and emotional environment. Sa chapter na ito, meron tayong definition of terms. Yun na yung school, special school, physical environment, and emotional environment. Sa school, self-explanatory naman kung saan tayo nag-aaral. It can be private or public. Sa special school naman, para siyang laboratory or something, or school na nag-conduct ng experiment or studies about plants, animals, and etc. Physical environment, ito naman yung nakikita natin sa paligid. Sa emotional environment naman, it is simply the factors na maka-affect sa way ng thinking ng mga tao, like yung trends. So, proceed tayo sa section 41, the physical environment. Sa section na ito, meron tayong kinoconsider na factor. Ito yung site, grounds, building, and the sanitation facilities. Sa site, dito daw, is kailangan i-avoid yung traffic hazard, like yung nag-cause ng accident na involve yung mga vehicle. Pero not to the point na hindi na tayo pwede mag-access ng transportation. Sa grounds naman, self-explanatory na din siya. Sabi daw is need ng large area para daw makapatayo ng playgrounds and athletic fields. Sa building, syempre yung building or school na i-build is dapat strong siya para safe yung mga tao, and pati na rin sa mga gamit na gagamitin para sa building na yon. Sanitary facilities, the school shall provide potable water or malinis na tubig at dapat may proper waste disposal. And nakasunod sila sa requirements of Code of Sanitation. Proceed tayo, section 42, the emotional environment. Para ma-sure ang emotional health ng students and members of faculty, kailangan ma-observe yung suitable location, recreational facilities, and restrooms. Ang suitable location, syempre dapat yung school kung saan i-build is safe at malayo dun sa mga pwede makasama sa students and faculty. Recreational facilities, syempre dapat ang school must provide a safe and attractive playgrounds and fields. C. Restrooms, dapat mag-provide ng rest space or breathing space for facility or faculty member. Section 43, Health Services. Dito, dapat the school shall provide a trained personnel so that the student may be afforded the following health services such as periodic physical and medical examination, periodic immunization, medical and dental treatment, treatment for common emergencies, and counseling and guidance. So yan, hindi yan nawawala sa mga school. Section 44, Requirements for Special School. A. Cadaverous corpse or dead body ay dapat naka-stored daw sa mga morgue. Ang mga poisonous or harmful plants and animals is dapat naka-keep daw sa safe and secure areas. Ang mga bacteria daw ay dapat naka-keep ng maayos sa laboratory according sa rules and regulation ng laboratory. So, proceed tayo sa chapter 7, Industrial hygiene. Section 45, sanitary requirements for operating an industrial establishment. Sa A, walang any industrial establishment na pwede mag-operate without a sanitary permit approved by secretary or any authorized na tao na pwede mag-approve nitong requirement to. Sa B, gina-allowed lang ang industrial establishment na mag-operate in places or zones assigned for that kind of industry pag nakasunod sa zoning laws. C, dito daw is dapat may potable water or malinis na water supply for employees para safe. Sa D, dito naman is dapat all places and workrooms ay dapat always clean and sanitized. Proceed tayo sa section 46, responsibility of the secretary. Sa A, the secretary must issue a list of maximum or pinakamataas na concentration of atmospheric contaminants like pollution or anything na poisonous para maging guide if safe ba ito or hindi sa surroundings at para sa mga tao. B, so dito, the secretary needs to review the concentration values sa regular intervals for the secretary to revise or change the list where it is. Dito naman sa C, the secretary needs to identify if ano yung pwede makakause sa health ng mga tao. Sa D, dito naman, the secretary needs to show or declare rules and regulation para makontrol yung makakause ng pollution or the pollution talaga. So proceed tayo sa section 47, responsibilities of the employer and employees. Sa section 47, dito naman naka-indicate yung mga responsibilities of employer and employees in industrial establishment. A, employer responsibility. Sila yung nag-provide and nag-maintain ng control measures or actions that can be taken to reduce the potential exposure to the hazard. Dapat daw, inform ng employees yung mga tao about sa nature ng hazard para malaman ng reason, methods to know how to avoid the exposure to hazard. B, employee responsibility. Sila yung nagasunod ng safety measure to avoid the exposure sa hazard. So, proceed tayo sa section 48. Environmental provisions. A, control of atmospheric contaminants. Dito is kailangan i-avoid ng mga workers na ma-expose sa atmospheric contaminants na makasira sa health like poison. Next, action taken para ma-reduce or ma-avoid yung mga atmospheric contaminants, kailangan alam nila yung methods para ma-approve ng secretary. B, control of infectious agents. So dito, need talaga ng control measures para ma-avoid yung mga transmission of infections. Section 49, personal protective equipment. Dito naman sa Section 49, dapat familiar yung supervisor and employees kung paano gamitin yung mga equipment and kung paano yung proper na paglinis and proper na pag-keep ng mga gamit. Proceed tayo sa Section 50, health services. Of course, dito, employees are human also. Need din nila ng medical services kagaya ng binibigay din sa mga patients. Need ng lahat ng tao ng medical services. So, proceed tayo sa Chapter 8. Public swimming or bathing places. Section 51. Of course, bago maka-operate ang isang establishment like resort, need mag-provide ng sanitary permit na approved by secretary para sa safety na din ng mga customer. Section 52. Protection of customer. A, rules and regulation concerning need ng rules and regulation para matama or makorek yung sanitary practices ng mga tao and para tama yung paglinis ng mga gagamitin ng mga tao. B, standard and criteria concerning. Dapat may standard and criteria concerning to establishment like swimming pool to avoid spreading of bacteria from one another. Section 53, ito naman, trabaho naman ito ng mga government employee like DOH na mag-inspect in every establishment para ma-ensure ang sanitary ng establishment ipasado na sa binigay na requirements. So, proceed tayo, Chapter 9, Section 54. So, in every bus terminal, need din nila ng proper rest area like yung mga waiting sa biyahe, need mag-provide ng management ng properly built waiting shed for protection sa araw at sa ulan, at rest areas sa mga taong gustong umidlip. Need din ng proper ventilation na iwas sa maingay para sa safety na din ng mga tao. So, yun. Proceed tayo sa Chapter 10, Section 55. Dito naman, walang mag-operate na playgrounds or camping employees if walang sanitary permit na na-issue ng secretary. Yun lang. Thank you.
So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Farhani Alan from the Group 3. So, our topic for today is all about the code sanitation of the Philippines. So, they assigned me to have a 4 chapters, which is chapter 11 to 14. So, let's start with chapter 11, dancing schools, dance halls, and nightclubs. Section 56, general provision, and the following provisions are applicable to dancing schools, dance halls, and nightclubs. Letter A. This establishment shall be operated and open for public patronage only when a sanitary permit is issued by the local health authority. Letter B. This establishment and their premises shall be kept clean and sanitary at all times. Letter C. Patrons shall be provided with adequate potable water and toilet facilities in accordance with standards prescribed by this code. Letter D. There shall be no private rooms or separate compartments for public use except those used for laboratories, dressing rooms, bars, and kitchen. So next, chapter 12, tonsorial and beauty establishment. Section 58, definition of term as used in chapter. The term tonsorial and the beauty establishment includes the following: barbershop, beauty parlors, hairdressing and manicuring establishment, and figure slandering salons. So requirements. This establishment are subject to the following requirements. Number 1. A sanitary permit shall be procured from the local health authority before their operation. Number 2. They shall be maintained clean and sanitary at all times. Number 3. No person shall be employed to service customers without a health certificate issued by the local health authority. So, next is that correct sanitary practices. The following sanitary practices shall be observed. Number 1. Working personnel shall wash their hands with soap and water before servicing customers. Number 2, they shall wear clean working garments. Number 3, they shall not smoke nor eat while working. Number 4, implements of their trade shall be clean and disinfected before and after their use. Number 5, customers shall be supplied with clean and fresh towels, drapes, and other linen necessary. Number 6, precautionary measures to prevent disease transmission shall be observed when serving customers showing any form of dermatosis. So now let's proceed to chapter 13. Chapter 13, massage clinics and sauna establishment. Section 59, definition of terms as used in the chapter. The following shall mean. Letter A, massage. Massage, a method where the superficial soft parts of the body are rubbed or stroked or kneaded for remedial or aesthetic or hygienic purposes. Letter B, massage clinic, an establishment where massage is administered to customers. Letter C, masseur, a trained person duly licensed by the secretary or his authorized representative to perform massage and to supervise massage clinic attendants. Letter D, massage clinic attendant, a trained duly permitted by the secretary of his authorized representative to massage customers under the guidance and supervision of the masseur. Letter E, sauna bath establishment, an establishment where customers are exposed to steam, which is generated by sprinkling water on hot stones or by some other means. Letter F, sauna bath attendant, a persons who applies the proper technique of giving steam bath to customers. So, last but not least, chapter 14, hotels, motels, and apartments, lodging, boarding, or tenement houses, and condominiums. Section 63, definition of terms as used in the chapter. The following term shall mean. Letter A, hotel, a building where transient guests are received and are supplied with a charge for meals, lodging, and other services. Letter B, motel, a roadside hotel for motorists usually consisting of private cabins. Letter C, boarding houses, a building where selected persons for fixed periods of time are supplied with a charge for sleeping accommodation and meals. Letter D, lodging houses, a building where persons are supplied with a charge for sleeping accommodation only. Letter E, tenement house, a building or portion thereof which is leased or sold to an occupied as a residence by 4 or more families doing their cooking within the premises but living independently of one another, although having a common right in the use of halls, stairways, terrace, verandas, toilets, and baths. Letter F, apartment houses, a building containing a number of separate residential suites. Letter G, condominium, a building with one or more story composed of multi-unit residential suites under joint ownership of occupants, each unit provided with complete sanitary facilities, utilities, and other amenities. Last, letter H, establishment, a collective term construed to include items A to G. So that would be all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Good morning, everyone. This is Hyrudin Sampayan reporting for Chapter 14, Hotels, Motels, and Apartments, Lodging, Boarding, or Tenement Houses, and Condominium. And for Section 63, this is the definition used in hotel, motel, boarding house, lodging house, tenement house, apartment house, condominium, and any establishment. And Section 64 is the requirement of any establishment before proceeding. For example, no establishment shall be operated and open for public patronage without a sanitary permit issued by the Secretary or his duly authorized. Section 65. Special provision of the following provisions are applicable. Hotels and motels. The storage, preparation, and serving of food to customers shall be in accordance with the standards prescribed in Chapter 3 of this Code. Number 2. Customers shall be provided with clean linen such as bedsheet, pillowcases, towels, and napkins. When rooms or cabins are vacated, their toilets or baths shall be sanitized and cleaned, and fresh linen shall be provided before the room or cabin is rented for occupancy. Condominium. The following conditions are applicable. The choices of foresight shall consider availability of bus and taxi transportation services nearest to place of work, schools, police station, and clinics, available of low-cost goods, parking facilities and playgrounds for children, facilities for refuse disposal and cleanliness of building and efficiency of lifts. Chapter 15. Port, Airport, Vessel, and Aircraft Sanitation. Section 66 is the requirements needs to be applied to port and airport. Section 67. Vessels and sanitation for purpose of this section. The provisions of R2 of the Quarantine Regulations promulgated under Section 5 of Republic Act No. 123 shall be applied and enforced. Section 68. Aircraft sanitation for the purpose of this section. The requirements in the Guide to Hygiene and Sanitation in Aviation of the World Health Organization are adopted as part of this code. Chapter 16 is the vermin control. Section 69, definition of term as used in this chapter. Section 70, general requirements. Chapter 17, sewage collection and disposal, excreta, disposal, and drainage. Section 71, definition of term for public sewerage system, septic tank, house sewer, septic tank absorption, effective capacity of a septic tank, effective depth of a septic tank, freeboard or airspace of septic tank, distribution box. Approved excreta disposal facilities shall mean any of the following: flush toilets properly connected to a community sewer, flush toilet connected to a septic tank constructed in accordance with this chapter, any approved type pit privy built in accordance with this chapter, and etc. Section 72. Scope of supervision of the department. The approval of the secretary or his duly authorized representative is required in the following matters: construction of any approved type of toilet for every house, including community toilet, which may be allowed for a group of small houses of light materials or temporary in nature. Plants in individual sewage disposal system and the subsurface absorption system or other treatment devices, and etc. Section 74. Requirements in the operation of sewerage works and sewage treatment plants. Section 75. Septic tank. Where a public sewerage system is not available, sewer outfalls from residences, schools, and other buildings shall be discharged into a septic tank to be constructed in accordance with the following minimum requirements. Section 77. Determination of septic tank. Section 78. Sanitary privies. The privy recommended for use in the sanitary privy. Section 79. Drainage. Responsibility of cities and municipalities. It shall be the responsibility of all cities and municipalities to provide and maintain in sanitary state and in good repair, a satisfactory system of drainage in all inhabited areas where waste water from building and premises could empty without causing nuisance to the community and danger to public health and etc. That's all, and Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum and good day to all of you. My name is Mirza Diamond P. Muhammad, and this is the continuation of the Code on Sanitation in the Philippines, Chapter 17 to Chapter 21. Chapter 17, Sewage Collection and Disposal, Excluded Disposal and Drainage. Okay. Sewage collection and disposal refers to the process of collecting and treating wastewater and human waste from homes and businesses. This typically involves a system of pipes and pumps that transport the sewage to treatment facilities where it is processed to remove pollutants and pathogens before being released into the environment. Excreta disposal and drainage refers to the management of human waste and the disposal of wastewater and is closely related to sewage collection and disposal. This includes the use of toilets, latrines, and septic systems to contain and treat human waste, as well as the design and construction of drainage systems to prevent flooding and protect water quality. Section 71, Definition of Terms. As used in this chapter, the following terms shall mean. There is a public sewerage system, a system serving 25 person or more, a septic tank, a watertight receptacle. C, a house sewer, the pipeline conveying sewage. D, the septic tank, absorption bed or drain field, is an underground system of pipes. Next is the effective capacity of a septic tank. Next, the effective depth of a septic tank. The freeboard or airspace of a septic tank, distribution box, approved excreta disposal facilities, privy, septic privy, box and can privy, concrete vault privy, and chemical privy. Section 72, Scope of Supervision of the Department. The approval of the Secretary or his duly authorized representative is required in the following matters. The scope of supervision of a department refers to the specific areas of responsibility and authority that the department is responsible for overseeing. This can include day-to-day operations, specific projects or initiatives, and certain employees or teams within the organization. The scope of supervision may also include compliance with relevant laws and regulations, as well as the development and implementation of policies and procedures. The scope of supervision may also include monitoring of performance, budget, and financial management, and implementing corrective action when necessary. The exact scope of supervision will vary depending on the department and the organization it is part of, but it should be clearly defined and communicated to the department staff and other relevant parties. Section 73. Operation of Sewage Treatment Works, Private or Public Sewerage System. The operation of sewage treatment works refers to the process of treating wastewater to remove impurities and pollutants before it is released into the environment. The treatment process typically involves a series of physical, chemical, and biological processes designed to remove pollutants and harmful microorganisms from the wastewater. Section 74. Requirements in the operation of sewerage works and sewage treatment plants. The following are required for sewerage works and sewage treatment plants required for. Okay. There are several requirements that must be met in the operation of sewerage works and sewage treatment plants. These requirements are put in a place to ensure that the treatment process is efficient, effective, and safe for both environment and the public. Now here's the Section 75. Septic tanks. Where a public sewerage system is not available, sewer outfall from residents, schools, and other buildings shall be discharged into a septic tank to be constructed in accordance with the following minimum requirements. So the septic tank is a type of on-site sewage treatment system that is commonly used in areas where a connection to a centralized sewage treatment system is not available. A septic tank is typically a bored underground chamber that receives and treats wastewater from a building or a group of buildings. Section 76. Disposal of a septic tank effluent. The effluent from a septic tank is typically disposed through a drainage field, also known as a leach field or seepage field. A drainage field is a system of perforated pipes or trenches that are bored underground and are designed to distribute the effluent into the surrounding soil. Section 77. Determination of septic tank capacity. The capacity of a septic tank is the amount of wastewater it can hold before it needs to be pumped out. The capacity of a septic tank is determined based on several factors, including the number of people in the households, the daily water usage, and the type of septic system. Table 1. Quantities of sewage flow. It's the type of establishment, the gallons, days, and the person. It's the sample. Section 78. Sanitary previous. The previously recommended for use is the sanitary preview. It shall conform with the following minimum requirements. Okay. A sanitary preview is a type of outhouse or toilet that is typically used in rural or remote areas where a connection to a centralized sewage system is not available. Sanitary previews are designed to provide a safe and sanitary means of disposing of human waste. Section 79. Drainage. Drainage refers to the process of removing excess water from an area to prevent flooding, erosions, or other problems. Drainage systems are typically designed to collect, convey, and discharge water to a safe location, such as stream, river, or ocean. Section 80. Special precaution for radioactive excreta and urine of hospitalized patient. Special precautions are necessary when handling radioactive excreta and urine from hospitalized patients who have been treated with radioactive materials, such as during nuclear medicines procedures. These precautions are taken to protect healthcare workers and the public from the exposure to radioactive materials and to ensure that the materials are properly disposed of. Chapter 18. Refuse disposal. Refuse disposal refers to the process of collecting, transporting, disposing of waste materials, such as household garbage, industrial waste, and construction debris. The goal of refuse disposal is to safely and efficiently manage waste in a way that minimizes negative impacts on the environment and public health. Section 81. Definition of terms. As used in this chapter, refuse is an inclusive term for all solid waste products consisting of garbage, rubbish, ashes, night soil, manure, dead animals, street sweeping, and industrial waste. Section 82. Responsibility of cities and municipalities. Cities and municipalities are responsible for the collection, transportation, and disposal of waste within their boundaries. They are responsible for the development and implementation of waste management policies and programs. Section 83. Additional requirements. In addition to the responsibilities outlined above, cities and municipalities may also have additional requirements for waste management, depending on the specific regulations and law in place in their area. Some example of additional requirements may include Chapter 19. Nuisances and offensive traits and occupation. Nuisances and offensive traits and occupations refers to activities or businesses that have a negative impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the community. These activities or business may produce unpleasant smells, noise, or other forms of pollution that can affect the quality of life for nearby residents. Section 84. Definition of terms as used in this chapter. The following terms shall mean and include A. Nuisance anything that injures health, endanger life, offends the senses, or produce discomfort to the community. Next is the offensive traits or occupations. They are the following: soap boiling, gas cleaner, boiling of offal, manufacturing of chlor fertilizer, skin curing, etc. Section 85. Type of nuisances. For the purpose of this chapter, the following shall be considered nuisances. A. The public or private premise maintained, used in a manner injurious to health. B. Breeding places and barbarage of vermin. C. Animals and their carcasses which are injurious to health. D. Accumulation of refuse. Next, noxious matter or wastewater discharged improperly in street. Next, the animal stockage maintained in a manner injurious to health. G. Excessive noise. And the last one is the illegal shanties in public or private properties. Section 86. Responsibilities of owners, managers, or operators. The owners, managers, or operators of establishment shall Owners, managers, or operators of business or facilities that are considered nuisances or offensive to its occupations have specific responsibilities to minimize the negative impact of their operations on the community. This responsibility may includes the following. Chapter 20: Pollution of Environment. Pollution of the environment is a major concern in the Philippines as it can have severe impacts on the health and well-being of citizens and natural ecosystem. There are several types of pollution that occur in the Philippines, including air pollution, water pollution, and soil pollution. Section 87: General Provisions. For the purpose of this chapter, the provision of Republic Act Number 3931, the rules and regulation of the National Water and Air Pollution Control Commission, promulgated in accordance with the provision of Section 6A2 of the said Act, the provision of Presidential Decree Number 480, and the rules and regulation of the Radiation Health Office of the Department of Health shall be applied and enforced. Section 88. Authority of the Secretary. The Secretary is authorized to promulgate rules and regulations for the control and prevention of the following types of pollution. The Secretary of a government agency in the Philippines is the head or chief executive officer of that agency and is responsible for implementing policies and carrying out the function of the agency as provided by law. The Secretary is appointed by the President and serves at the pleasure of the President. Chapter 21. Disposal of Dead Person. The disposal of dead persons in the Philippines is governed by a variety of laws and regulations as well as cultural and religious practices. Section 89. Definitions. As you see in this chapter, the following terms I mean. There's a burial ground, embalming, embalmer, undertaking, undertaker, funeral establishment, remains, disinterment, and disinterment. Section 90. Burial grounds requirements. The following requirements shall be applied and enforced. A. It shall be unlawful for any person to bury remains in places other than those legally authorized in conformity with the provisions of this chapter. Next is a burial ground shall at least be 25 meters distant from any dwelling house, and no house shall be constructed within the same distance from any burial grounds. C. No burial grounds shall be located within 50 meters from any source of water supply. Section 91. Burial Requirements. The burial of remains is subject to the following requirements. Okay. The requirements for burials in the Philippines are established by the revised rules and regulation on the disposition of dead bodies or Department of Health Administrative Order Number 2012-002. According to the law, all burials must be done in a cemetery that is authorized by the local government and must be at least 3 meters deep. And the law also requires that all burials must be done in a grave that is properly lined with concrete or other approved materials. Section 92. Disinterment Requirements. Disinterment of remains is subject to the following requirements. The requirements for disinterment or the exhumation of buried body in the Philippines are established by the revised rules and regulation on the disposition of dead bodies, Department of Health Administrative Order Number 2012-002. According to the law, disinterment can only be done with the written consent of the legal heirs of the deceased person or by court order. The person or entity requesting the disinterment must also obtain a permit from the city or municipal health officer and must provide a reason for the disinterment. Section 93. Funeral and Embalming Establishment. These establishments are subject to the following requirements. A. The scope of inclusion. B. Sanitary permit, the classification, and the sanitary requirements. Section 94. Licensing and registration procedures. The licensing and registration of undertakers and embalmers are subject to the following requirements. A. Insurance of license to practice. B. Insurance of certificates of registration. And C is the exemption. Section 95. Autopsy and dissection of remains. The autopsy and dissection of remains are subject to the following requirements. A. Person authorized to perform these are health officer, medical officer of the law enforcement agencies, and members of the medical staff of accredited hospital. B. Autopsies shall perform in the following cases, wherever required by special laws, upon orders of a competent court, a mayor, and a provincial or city fiscal. 3. Upon written request of police authorities. 4. Wherever the Solicitor General, Provincial, or City Fiscal as authorized by existing law shall deem it necessary to listen therein, take possession of remains for examination to determine the cause of death. And the last is wherever the nearest in shall request in writing the authorities concerned to ascertain the cause of death. Okay, C. Autopsies may be performed on patients who die in accredited hospital subject to the following requirements. The three requirements. D. The burial of remains after autopsy. After an autopsy, the remains shall be interred in accordance with the provisions in this chapter. Section 96. Donation of human organs for medical, surgical, and scientific purposes. Any person may donate an organ or any part of his body to a person, a physician, a scientist in a hospital, or a scientific institution upon his death for transplant, medical, or research purposes, subject to the following requirements. The organ shall be authorized. A married person may be. Section 97. Use of remains for medical studies and scientific research. Unclaimed remains may be used by medical schools and scientific institutions for studies and research subject to the rules and regulations prescribed by the department. Section 98. Special precaution for safe handling of cadavers containing radioactive isotopes. Section 99. Responsibility of the regional director. The regional director shall act on application for the establishment of burial grounds and close any burial grounds which is a menace to public health. Section 100. Responsibility of the local health authority. The local health authority shall administer city or municipal cemeteries, be issue permits to enter, disinter, or transfer remains. C. Apply prescribed measures when cause or death is due to a dangerous communicable disease. D. Keep records of death occurring within his areas of jurisdiction and authorize the delivery of unclaimed remains to medical school and scientific institutions for purposes specified in this chapter in accordance with the rules and regulations of the department. Section 101. Responsibility of local government. Local government shall 1 is reserve appropriate tracts of land under their jurisdiction for cemeteries subject to approval of regional directors concerned. B. Utilize judiciously grants, bequests of property of financial donation for the establishment or improve of cemeteries and close cemeteries under their jurisdiction subject to approval of the regional director. Section 102. Penal provisions. The secretary or his duly authorized representative may revoke or suspend the license of the undertaker or embalmer who violates any provision of this chapter, or the rules and regulations promulgated by secretary under this chapter. B. Any person who shall engage in this business of undertaking or embalming in violation of any provisions of this chapter shall be liable to penalty of not more than 1,000 for each violation. C. Each day or any part thereof during which any prohibited business or practices continue shall be deemed a separate violation and subject to the same penalty prescribed in the preceding paragraph. Chapter 22, or the final provisions. Penal provisions. A. Unless otherwise provided in any chapter or section in this code, any person who shall violate, disobey, refuse, omit, or neglect to comply with any of the rules and regulations promulgated under this code shall be guilty or misdemeanor, and upon conviction shall be punished by imprisonment for a period not exceeding 6 months or by a fine of not exceeding 1,000 or both, depending upon the discretion of the court. Section 104. Separability clause. In the event that any section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or word of this code is declared invalid for any reason, other provisions thereof shall not be affected thereby. Section 105. Repealing clause. All laws as well as pertinent rules and regulations thereof which are inconsistent with the provisions of this code are hereby repealed or amended accordingly. Section 106. Effectivity. This code is hereby made part of the law of the land and shall take effect immediately. Done in the city of Manila this 23rd day of December in the year of our Lord 1995.